and to my surprise guest, who's another Richmond fan, which I think, unfortunately, is horrifying him. As I said, there has been a bitter debate in Australia following the massacre of 50 Muslims in Christchurch. A shocking, shocking crime. And it is more than even that horrible tragedy. A crime like this could too easily set off a conflict. Well, let's not go any further. I think Jacinda Ardern is doing her very best to prevent that. So I understand those fears, and I understand the need to stress and stress again that we are in this together. Muslims, Christians, Jews, non-believers, we should all be one. But I am also very sceptical about any attempt to exploit this horror for other purposes, and sceptical about further attempts to restrict our free speech. I'm also deeply concerned by one of the excuses given for that somehow debates in Australia about immigration and Islamist terrorism helped to cause a massacre in New Zealand, and by an alleged killer who has spent just 45 days in Australia in 3 years, and who, allegedly, says his thinking was actually fundamentally changed by what he saw in Europe and not here. Yet the Greens Victorians Women's Network says the Morrison government's hateful and racist rhetoric means the blood is on its hands too. And a couple of days ago, Greens leader Richrad Natale asked to come on the show. I immediately agreed, despite not knowing even now what he wants to discuss, and knowing that he and his party has a hatred of Sky News, and I expect some loathing of me. And Richrad Natale joins me now. You've always been front up, and I appreciate you being always open to a discussion. I appreciate that. I'm going to give you the floor in 1 second to say uninterrupted what you have come to say. But I just want to start off things with one single question. I promise only one question. And it's a serious one, even though you might think, oh, it's a gotcha. Your party claims Conservatives in Australia are complicit in this horror in New Zealand by what we've said. And if that really is the measure, I want to ask you how complicit are the Greens? You personally have said Australia Day represents an ongoing genocide. You want our borders weakened dramatically. You've attacked politicians who say it's okay to be white. You have pushed identity policies. You've called for a new advisory parliament just for Aborigines. Your party has called one of our most distinguished soldiers, Jim Molan, a war criminal. I know you've apologised for that. And you've called for the scrapping of the Lord's Prayer in Parliament. Some of those positions, quite reasonable. But the point is, have you ever thought how that rhetoric affects some white racist loser sitting there in his shirt with a gun nearby, and how they might feel under pressure and what they might then do? Are you complicit as well?
Nice try, but there aren't two sides here. There's one side. There are people who stand up against prejudice and against racism, who take a stand against neo-Nazis, and there are people like you who give them a platform, who give voice to their issues.
So let's be clear. Let's be clear about. Can I fact check that, because that's a tough allegation. First, though, I'd like you to actually address the question: have you contemplated? Because I'm not saying that all those positions are wrong. What I'm saying is, have you contemplated that doing that, how some loser who is a racist might respond?
Good try, but again, there aren't two sides to this. There aren't two sides to this. Now, you said you'd give me an opportunity to say what I wanted to say.
That's right.
You say you support free speech. Now, give me an opportunity to give you my perspective.
I first want an answer to my question before I answer yours.
I've told you that there aren't two sides to this, and there's no moral equivalence, and what you're doing is creating a false moral equivalence here. There is a rising tide.
So you haven't considered.
There's a rising tide of neo-Nazism, of white supremacy going on, not just here in Australia, but right around the world. We've seen the tragedy, the massacre in Christchurch. We've obviously seen Jews gunned down in synagogues in Pittsburgh. We've seen what happened in Charlottesville. This is happening here in Australia and right around the world.
Name one racist that I have had on this show that I have given a voice to.
After the
Name one.
After
No.
the terrorist attack,
You've made a serious allegation. Name one.
Blair Cottrell came onto the Sky, came onto this network, came onto this network.
He came onto the ABC.
Came onto this network.
He went on the ABC.
Blair Cottrell came onto this network.
And the ABC.
Lauren Southern.
The ABC.
Lauren Southern.
Why don't you acknowledge the ABC who gave him 2 platforms?
Lauren Southern. You yourself
We're not allowed to discuss the reasons, but I have to say he describes himself allegedly as an eco-terrorist.
These are your words. These are your words. The more Muslims we import, the more danger we are in.
Yes.
Isn't the next step now obvious? What next step are you referring to?
Did you read the rest of the article?
What next step are you referring to?
Did you read the rest of the article?
Let me tell you what people
Richard,
hear.
if you're not going to have a dialogue, then we're going to be talking over each other all the time, because I am not allowing you to make one unsubstantiated claim after another and not answer questions as I try to answer yours. It is a dialogue, correct? Is it going to be a dialogue, or is you going to rant?
Is telling here. You nurture it, you encourage it, and we need laws to protect the community from your vile hate speech.
Richard, you are the preacher of hatred.
The entire News Corp empire. There are people who stand up against prejudice.
It's because of people like you that my life is in danger. It is because of people like you that my life is in danger. I have been attacked by Antifa, which I regard now as the parliamentary wing, the paramilitary wing of the Green Movement. I've been attacked in the street. You have not. I have had death threats at my home, requiring my family to be removed. You have not. I've had death threats, thanks to the sort of people that you embolden and encourage, that had someone jailed for several years. You have not. You're putting people's lives at risk. And you, by your overheated race politics, are driving some people into corners that I wish they would not use. I have deplored this. I have written about this, including in pieces that you're quoting, and I think you should take some responsibility.
Have you finished?
Well,
do I get an opportunity to respond?
Mate, you were not responding before. You were not letting me a chance to respond. Now it's your turn.
We have a Muslim senator who has been subject to death threats as a result of this vile hatred atmosphere that you foster, encourage and support.
Name one person.
We have women.
One person. You keep saying that, but you name one person.
You're so supportive of free speech that you won't give me an opportunity to
but you make a false claim. You make it seem like I have neo-Nazis here. I do not have neo-Nazis here. I denounce neo-Nazis. Blair Cottrell I have banned.
We have right now women wearing a headscarf who can't walk down the street because of this rising tide of Islamophobia, racism and bigotry.
I can't walk down the street without being attacked by people who subscribe to your politics.
And it is your words, your network, the network that you work for, the News Corp empire of hate, that is the incubator of these opinions.
When you came in here, did you go through bollards, right? Who put the bollards up and for why? When you came here, did you see the security guard? Do you know why we have to have them here? For the kind of people that you encourage. Do you know why I've had extra security in my home? Kind of people you encourage. Do you know why I was attacked in the street? Because of the people you encourage. Now, I think you should stop this poisonous rhetoric of hate, putting people's lives in danger, and look for the middle ground.
There are 50 people.
Did they include the people, the 20 people who died in the Philippines church last year?
Are you interviewing yourself now, Andrew, or are you going to give me an opportunity to speak?
I'm just asking who you're counting.
50 people. With the words, welcome, brother, into that mosque.
It was a tragedy.
Into that mosque. And what we have from people like you, from people like Peter Dutton, who says that settling Lebanese Muslims is a mistake, indeed from the Prime Minister of the country who floats a strategy to beat up on Muslims in a cynical, opportunistic, vile attempt to win a few votes, this is where it leads. This is the consequence
of
your hate speech.
I think you're lying here.
This is the consequence of your hate speech. This is a consequence of the environment that you have fostered.
What is the change of causality? You're aiming that these politicians and me have a direct responsibility for that. This man, how do you know he even heard any of this? I deny that there's a causality, but where do you...
You have had convicted criminals and neo-Nazis on this network. You should be ashamed.
I was ashamed.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
I was ashamed that he was on this network, but he was on the ABC.
You seem to continue to be in denial about the role you have played. I am in denial because you're saying it. You're saying you are in denial. That is one thing we agree on.
This is how I see it.
This is one thing we agree on.
This is how I see it. I think there has been overheated rhetoric in this country, and I've called it out. You don't want to believe that.
You're responsible for it.
No, I'm not responsible for it because you still have not identified what I've done.
You are one of the major instigators of it.
You still cannot...
When you say the more Muslims we import, the more danger we are in, isn't the next step obvious now? Do you know what people hear?
Do you know why?
They hear that as a call to arms. That's what people hear.
That is just absolute
That is hate speech, and we need laws to protect people against your hate speech.
I think
against
your
the hate speech of those people on News Limited, and it is and now should be a moment for reflection, for some acknowledgement of the role that you and that News Limited have played in this shameful, shocking, horrific chapter in our nation's history.
You had to walk past bollards put there because of Islamist terrorism, correct? You had to walk past the guard put there because of left-wing terrorism, correct? You have put my life at risk. I can't literally, you figuratively say, oh, people can't walk down the street. I cannot walk down the street because of green activists attacking people. We've had, the politician that has been attacked that I can tell recently has been Tony Abbott by people like your followers, physically in the street. Now, I think you need to take some responsibility for this overheated rhetoric, these false allegations, these claims. And when you say, oh, listen, I have looked at what the alleged killer has said, and he's quoting Lawrence Southern. You know what he's also quoting? If you're going to take anyone for a guide, any of these mad words for a guide, he's quoting you. He's quoting Greens politics. He's quoting global warming. He's quoting communism. He describes, allegedly, himself as communism by some definition. Are you going to take responsibility for that?
Nice try again,
the point
Andrew.
is, you seem so binary.
Nice try.
Binary that I don't get it. I don't get why you don't take responsibility yourself.
Broadcast the footage